I'm standing before you right now about to do one of my favorite hobbies, and that is going for a run. And what I want to tell you is that I'm about to run in a circumstance that is definitely not my favorite. It's about to get pretty dark. I really don't enjoy running in the dark, but you got to wear these extra gear so people can see you. Put on the old headlights so you can see and be seen. So that part's fine. I don't mind wearing the extra gear, but I just don't enjoy running in the dark. It's actually unseasonably warm right now. It's in the mid 50s right now. It's borderline for me though, because I'm tempted to put on long sleeves. I do not like running in the cold. I kind of prefer running in the morning over running in the evening, but I'm about to meet some people. Good old Tri-State Running Company in Edgewood, Kentucky. Great running crew, great running family that I've joined up with for the past couple of years. I'm about to do all of that. Now, the reason I'm bringing all that up is not just because I'm nerding out about running, which I love to do. I'm bringing all that up because it matches a little bit what we're talking about as we introduce this new 3-session series called Yes and No. The two most powerful words on the planet, no matter what the language is, are those words, yes and no. You can do so much with those two words. You can make so many things happen with those two words. Those are words people vote with. Those are words that laws are changed by. Those are words that cause anger or happiness or joy or disappointment. That's how powerful the words yes and no are. But what I mainly want us to know and understand is that those two words go together. With every yes, there is at least one no, with maybe even many no's. And with every no, and every time you say no to something, you are saying no because of a more powerful yes that is behind that. So tonight, I'm saying no to my usual supper schedule. I'm saying no to relaxing at home after work. I am saying no to warmer gear. I'm saying no to just being in a car to travel. But I'm saying all these no's, and I'm trying to think of some other ones that I can't think of right now. I'm saying all these no's for one powerful yes, and the yes is the feeling and the achievement of health that I get from running. There's probably way more behind that than just health and just the feeling of healthiness. I've really enjoyed getting to meet people. It has become a hobby that I enjoy. But I'm saying yes to my commitment to being a runner. That's what I'm saying yes. That's the yes behind all those no's. And that's what would cause me to do things I normally wouldn't want to do, which is run in the dark, run in a little bit of a chilly wind, and do it at a time when normally I would be relaxing. Because the powerful yes of being a committed runner causes me to say no to those things, even though they are not necessarily things you would say no to. But we say those no's in order to achieve that yes. There's almost never an isolated no. There's a yes behind it. There's almost never an isolated yes. In order to say yes to certain things, we're going to have to be prepared to say no to other things. There's a whole other rabbit we can chase when it comes to, for those of you who may struggle saying no. That's hard for you to do. Someone needs you, someone wants you, someone has a favor of you, someone needs you to help them. You almost never say no to that. That sounds great. It sounds like a beautiful thing. But for those of you, if that describes you, you know there have been times of suffering in your life where you're like, why did I say yes again? Why did I say yes again? Something we will be talking about in the next 2 sessions is maybe going to empower you to be able to say no more, because you're going to discover what your best yes is. So we're not going to get ahead of ourselves, because this session is about really understanding this by looking at the example of the most important human being that ever walked this planet, Jesus Christ himself, who was fully human, fully divine, and who experienced all the things that we experience: thirst, hunger, temptation, and yet was perfect and sinless. We look at the example of Jesus here, how he also had to say no, and there was a yes behind those no's. And there's so many examples of them. The couple that we're looking at for this session, one is, I mean, and honestly, this is maybe seems like a little bit of a reach, but there's this conversation that he was having with his disciples where he was explaining to them that in Mark chapter 8, he's explaining to them that he's going to suffer and die and then rise again, and that's why he came. And then Peter, who it's pretty well known and well documented is the disciple that was closest to Jesus, said, no, there's no way. You are not going, this is not going to happen to you. And to be honest with you, if we didn't know the rest of the story, you and I would be like, yeah, tell him, Peter, this is crazy. You're the Messiah. You're the Son of God. Nobody can kill you. Nothing bad's going to happen to you. You are the Son of God. You are the Messiah. You are the Christ. You are the chosen one. And Jesus' response was super harsh. I would call this his hard no. He gave Peter a hard no. He said, get behind me, Satan. Called him the devil. Called him Satan altogether. And there's some stuff about that we can sort of dive into, like, why would he do that? Why would he call Peter Satan? Was he just mad and just the worst thing he could think of is, you're the devil? You know, maybe so. But when we think about Satan, we think about him being a liar. We think about him being a tempter. We think about him being an accuser. And in my mind and heart, I'm thinking, wow, those things that Peter said were lies, because that wasn't, this isn't going to happen to you. Nope, that's wrong. That is not true. Maybe even tempting to Jesus, because we know that in the Garden of Gethsemane, he was super distressed about the death he was about to suffer, and even prayed to the Father saying that this cup would be passed from me, but not my will, but your will be done. He was super distressed about the whole thing. So tempting, perhaps, like maybe I could just be, a great rabbi who maybe I could become this military kind of Messiah that sets up a political, geographical kind of kingdom, because everybody's expecting me to anyway. Maybe I could do that. Maybe in some way that was tempting to Jesus, which sounds strange for us to even wrap our minds around. But and then the accusation, that no, these human beings, Jesus, they're not worthy of you dying for their sins. So maybe there's Satan using Peter's words to say, why die for this humanity? You can see the sin that exists, and even the religious leaders are the worst of the worst because they're so legalistic and unmerciful and leading people down the wrong path. All that being said, it was a hard no to Peter. Get thee behind me, Satan. But the powerful yes behind that hard no was, I must die. I must take the place on the cross that humanity deserves. I have another example that's one of my favorites. In John chapter 8, in the first 12 verses, it gives this account that some of our ancient manuscripts don't have this account in it, but you'll find it in almost all the English translations with some notes around it. But Jesus had this moment when he was teaching at the temple where the men literally drags this lady who was caught in adultery and brings her before Jesus and says, the law of Moses commands us to kill this woman. What do you say? I mean, they had their rocks in their hand ready to slay this woman. And you probably have heard this account. Jesus stoops down to the ground, begins to scribble with his finger in the dirt. We don't know what he scribbled. I've heard lots of preachers pontificate and speculate about what that could be. Someone once told me they thought, wouldn't it be cool if he was literally writing the names of those men and beside them sins they had committed recently? You don't know. I've always imagined a smiley face. I don't know. I've always imagined a cross. I don't know. Who knows what it was? That's kind of a fun thing to think about. But what ended up happening was he said this amazing sentence that changed everything. He said, the one who has no sin throws the first stone. And one by one, starting with the older men in that group all the way to the youngest, those men of that village dropped their rocks and walked away. And Jesus looks up and says, hey, where are your accusers? Has no one condemned you? He says, neither do I condemn you. Go and leave your life of sin. Again, it's a hard no. Shouldn't we condemn this woman? Shouldn't she be killed? Doesn't the law of Moses allow us to do this and even command us to do this? It would be easy for Jesus to say yes in order to signify himself as a law-abiding, a good Jewish law-abiding man and rabbi, and yet it was a hard no. And the reason that he gave such a hard no to the condemnation of this woman, no to her being put to death, no to these men getting having this experience where they by their own hands slay this woman, no to all of that, because that hard no comes with this powerful yes. And the powerful yes is that I'm going to die for her. I'm taking on this death. I am allowing myself to be crucified so that this woman can live, and not only live physically, but so she can experience new life that can only come by me. That's the yes, the powerful yes behind Jesus's no's. And so with that in mind, really what I want you as a group to be thinking about is how this has impacted your life. If you come to terms with the yeses and the nos of Jesus, knowing this about him, how has that impacted you personally? In what way has that impacted you personally? And then there's some questions that your leader has that will get you maybe even talking about just the general concept of every yes having a no or multiple no's, and every no has a yes behind it, and just talking that through. And that's going to really set the stage for sessions 2 and 3 as we talk about you and what is your powerful yes and what are some no's you might need to be saying because of that. So enjoy some discussion and prayer time together, and yes and no. Let's see how God's going to use this powerful truth to impact your life personally.